Hello, people of YouTube. Welcome back. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I had an N-Scale Friday in which I told you about a big box that Atlas had sent me. Then I just showed you a few little N-Scale models. Well, today we're going to take a look at some of the other things that were in that big box. Let's go to the workbench. Alright, so we're at the workbench and I'm trying to contain my excitement because this is actually two boxes and I'm really excited to show you what's in these. So I'm going to set those aside and save the best for last. Let's take a look at these cars first. Alright, so if you're thinking, my goodness, these look awfully familiar, they should. Because recently I had an episode of N-Scale Friday on which I featured all three of these same cars, only in N-Scale. Today we get to look at the HO scale versions of the same things, and I have to say the HO scale versions are every bit as impressive, maybe even a little more so, than the N-Scale ones. Let's take a look. Alright, so we're looking first at the Dow Chemicals 11,000 gallon tank car. It has an MSRP of $42.95. And as you can see, the railings around the hatch are pretty well done, and the hatch itself is really nice. I'm going to pick this up and you can take a look at it here in a second, but the hazardous material placard is separately applied and it's legible. This is a very nice car. I don't know if you can tell from looking at this, but the paint is also very nicely done. There's diamond tread on the platform here, and there's hinge and latch detail on the hatch itself. And this feels like it's made out of plastic, but it's pretty sturdy anyway. I was talking before about the hazardous placard. You can read that. It says dangerous. The printing on the side is also really nicely done. Very crisp. All the small details, like this grab that goes all the way around the entire tank, separately applied. This grab here on the side is separately applied. Another hazardous placard on the end there. A nice knuckle coupler. Very clean and crisp writing on the end. Here's something else that you don't see every day. Look at the turnbuckle. There are turnbuckles that hold the tank to the structure of the car at all four corners. That's a nice detail right there. You can see there's some exposed brake rigging. You can see that as it's going down the track. All separately applied. And then these are blackened metal wheels. I also want to point out the separately applied brake wheel, and there's diamond tread on the walkway all around the frame of this car. And finally on this car, I was ready to stop talking about it, but I also noticed this. There's a little bit of printing right here along the side of the frame, and then if you look all the way underneath, back under here, look at that printing right on, I don't even know what you call that part of the car. That's some cool attention to detail. Alright, next up is the Precision Design 50-foot ribside boxcar. This model has an MSRP of $36.95. And I noticed as I was putting this down on the track that the doors, in fact, open and close. So you want to choose how you want to display this thing. Both sides open and close like that. Now, looking very carefully at the paint, it's very thin. It doesn't cover up any of the detail. And it's very even as well. And if you look very carefully, you'll notice that the tiniest writing on the side of this car is legible. All the way down to the smallest writing here in the area where it has the capacity limit information. The door tracks look like separately applied pieces, and the detail in the door itself is really nicely done. Very finely rendered details here, little handles and stuff. You'll also notice that the stirrups are very finely rendered and the grabs are wire grabs. This is not molded. I don't expect this is visible to the camera, but I took my magnifying visor and put in the ultimate magnification that it can do, all the writing is legible. Like I was saying before, even this tiniest stuff, it just looks like white lines to the naked eye. All right, looking at this end detail, the brake wheel and the ladders and this grab that goes all the way across, all separately applied. The crossover platform appears to be a piece of plastic, but it's see-through, and it looks almost like a metal photo-etched piece. And so looking at the bottom, you can see all the brake detail in there. These are in fact blackened metal wheels. And then it's a body-mounted Accumate coupler. Alright, so there's your 50-foot ribside boxcar. The N-scale version of this model was one of my favorites on the N-scale Friday that had it. This is the ATSF BX177 60-foot boxcar. The paint on this model is perfect. You can read everything, even the smallest writing inside the COTS block is legible if you put your magnifiers on. A lot of the detail in the door is molded, but look how well it's executed. That does not look like there's any molded stuff on there. Even this tiniest stuff up here is legible. That printing up there, I'll get my magnifying visor out and read it to you if you want. But look how fine the stirrup is, and look how fine the grabs are. Those are wire grabs. That's why they look so good. Well, I hate to do this, but I'm going to gush over the detail on this thing, just like I did with the N-scale one. Separately applied ladders, separately applied grab that goes all the way across, separately applied brake wheel and chain, photo etched crossover platform, and it comes with a factory installed cut lever and air hose. Even the tack board is separately applied, and it has a metal knuckle coupler. This has everything you would probably want to do to it already installed. And once again, you have your blackened metal wheels, and look at the brake rigging on this thing. This is an amazing model. The MSRP for it is $46.95. It puts it on par with everything else I've seen in that price range, maybe even a little bit better. This is a really, really well done model. Alright, what am I so excited about? What's in these boxes isn't even out yet. So this may be the first time anyone's going to see them anywhere on video. And these may be a little bit more anticipated for people on the East Coast, but I'm excited nonetheless. You ready for this? You know what this is yet? This is Atlas's new New Jersey Transit set. You know I'm excited about this because I don't usually do this unboxing stuff. Alright, so here we go. You have instructions for removing the car body, and this is important because I'll tell you why in a second. But it also has your warranty information in the box. And I have to say, the presentation of this is really good. I have not seen Atlas do a set like this before. So, it's really nice. Each car has its own cradle plastic thing. And one of the cool things is they're all lit up. They have LEDs in them. Okay, so this is the cab car. You can see it has some molded details on the side, and the number board here is recessed, which is pretty cool. I'm going to put these things on a track with some power and see exactly which parts light up. I know the interior lights up. You're not going to believe this, but that red writing inside this little block here is legible. Unbelievable. I don't know how they make stuff print that small. The gradient, this looks like it's a decal or a stamped print of some sort, but it is ultra clean. I mean, this is about as good of printing as I've ever seen on any model. And of course, as a public agency, the car is wheelchair accessible too. You can see the printing here is legible. The vestibule actually is recessed about an inch into the model there, into the end. It has Katy couplers. Pretty darn cool. And then there's MU connection details there on the end. It's actually a rubber diaphragm as well. Again, I really hate to gush over stuff, but when's the last time you saw a passenger car with this kind of detail on the top? I mean, this is nice. And now, looking at the cab car end, you can see it has separately applied windshield wipers, a separately applied horn as well. And here's the cool thing about this cab car. It has a 21-pin DCC plug. So you can get a 21-pin DCC decoder to operate the lights and everything in this car. You can also put a speaker in it if you want to put sound into it. Now, it doesn't have a motor in it because it's, after all, just a cab car. But usually you don't see cab cars equipped with DCC plugs. You can see there's a board, and that's where the lights are actually. If you look down below, you can see the LEDs in there that illuminate the interior. There is a full interior, so if you want to put figurines in here, you can do that. There's the cab seat, and you can see there are light pipes where the headlights come out. But here's what I was talking about a second ago. If you look back here, there's the dummy plug. So if you wanted to put a decoder in here, you would take that plug off and just insert your 21-pin plug there. I noticed that there's a lot of space right in here where you could fit a speaker if you want to put sound in this thing. And it is right next to the decoder, so you wouldn't have to send your wires too far. Okay, I have the lights turned down so you can see what the lit interior looks like. Alright, so I pulled out one of the other cars, and as you can see, it's right on par with the cab car in terms of the level of detail and quality of markings and paint. Right, so that's the cab car set. Let's open up the locomotive set. You have your instructions for taking apart the coaches. So as you can see, you have your instructions on how to use the template to drill out the holes for the included stuff, which I'll show you in a second. And over here, these are grab irons, right? And it shows you where they all go on this nicely detailed photo in the instructions. And then you also have the exploded view drawing so that you can see how this thing comes apart. I'm going to start with the template. You can look on here, you can see that there are little holes. And basically the way this works is you cover up the front of the model with this formed template, and then you use a number 80 drill bit to drill out the holes that are situated. And then inside the package here, there are all of your grabs in there. So I am not going to open this bag until I'm ready to install the grabs on this thing, because I don't want to risk losing them. These grab irons are also separately applied, and they're very thin. This is a really nicely done model. The grills on top here, well, I guess it's on the side, right? Look like photo etched parts, but I think they're just molded plastic. They look really neat. Since I'm looking kind of at the sides now, let's continue. You have something back here. This looks almost like an MU connector. I'm sure it's not, because that wouldn't be on the side of the train. Here you have your MU connectors, right? And then again, KD couplers. And then the engineer side is similarly detailed. And then the front has detail similar to what's on the rest of the model. Look at those windshield wipers. Those look really cool. And then of course you have your 5-chime horn there. This would look especially nice once all the little grab irons are applied to the front of it. And we didn't even look at the top yet. This looks like photo etched pieces. It's kind of hard to tell. I think they might be plastic, but they look like photo etched because they are see-through, and you can see a little detail under the grills. And it has 2 sets of those kind of fan assemblies there. And then look at the pantograph. That's also really cool looking. Okay, so I examined it very carefully, and there's a little clip back here that I identified before, and then there's another one that holds this second piece up, and it's quite springy. My guess, and I don't see the information in the instructions, but my guess is that you can probably make this pick up live overhead if you want to, if you run that way. So I'll put that back down very carefully. Alright, so just for your information, the ALP 45 DP locomotive, which is what this is actually a dual mode locomotive. So it has a diesel engine in it, and it also can run off a catenary overhead using the pantograph. So I'm really anxious to get a 21 pin Loc Sound decoder, which is what they recommend for this, to put in here and see what sounds they came up with for this. This is going to be a really neat project. Alright, I just have this on my DC power supply, and I'm going to put the microphone right over it so that you can hear what kind of motor noise it has, if any. I don't hear any noise at all. Alright, well, I don't normally do this, but I'm pretty excited about this commuter set. So I'm going to take it outside and do a run by in the dark so that you can see the lit up cars and the engine zoom past. I realized as I was recording these nighttime run-bys that the set that comes with the locomotive also has a cab car. So it's a cab car with what they call a trailer, what I've been referring to as a coach, and the locomotive. Now let's take a look at the cab car lights as the train is in push mode. And finally, one last thing worth mentioning about the lights is that the locomotive has red marker lights when it's in reverse. Let's take a look. The MSRP for the first set that I showed you that came with the cab car and two trailers, or coaches as I've been calling them, is $269.85, and the one that came with the locomotive and a cab car is $354.85. It's also worth mentioning that all of these parts are available separately right now. You can check with your dealers for pricing on them. These 3-packs are supposed to come out sometime in the near future. And finally, I just want to say I've known Atlas to be one of the better manufacturers. They make consistently good models, and I think they're really stepping up their game even more with this release, in particular of this New Jersey Transit set. So if you have any interest in New Jersey Transit, it would be a good time to grab these while they're available, because who knows if anyone is ever going to make anything like this again. Great job, Atlas.